Hi, I'm Nick, and this is the audience. Again, I'm Nick Mayo, and have you guys ever had a beer? I mean, those of you that are 21. And have you ever wondered if how that wonderful drink was made? Well, today I'm going to tell you how beer is made. And beer is made in three main parts. First is to get the materials. Second is the actual brewing of the beer. And then third is packaging. First, getting the materials. You need a few main ingredients. One is water, which is key to most liquid products. It's preferably natural and purified. Next is grain. Usually, you want barley mixed with corn or rice. And then another key ingredient is hops. That gives the beer its bitter taste. The next one is yeast, which, it's part of the fermenting process. And you need a special type of yeast. It's called brewer's yeast. Can't use the same old bread yeast. And then the last thing is whatever flavoring you want to add, like summer shandy, perhaps you've tried that. It's flavored with some citrus lemon. And then there's honey vice, which obviously has honey in it. The next part is the longest part, which is brewing. Brewing all begins with malting. Now, malting is when you take your grain and you put it into a big bin and you let it steep in water, which is the bin is filled up with water, and then it's let out, and it keeps doing that until it's totally saturated. This releases enzymes that change the starch to sugar, and that's used later on for fermenting. And to stop this process, the whole enzyme process, you have to roast it. So the next part is making mash, which the malt, after you drained it down, the malt is crushed and put into a copper tank with warm water. And that mixture right there, that soupy mixture, is called the mash, according to madehow.com. After this, it's then heated, and you just leave it in the tank and let it sit. The next part is the wort, which that's when you drain the water from the tank, and the more water is added to the mash, so as to rinse the wort, and that whatever is left after that fluid that's on top of the mash is the wort. And so then that is transferred to a different tank, and then the hops and everything that is used to flavor the beer is added on the brew kettle. The next part of the whole brewing process is fermenting. This is pretty easy to explain. All it does, you take the stuff from the brew kettle, transfer it again to a fermenting tank, and you just let it sit there and let it do its magic. Like I said, the enzymes break down the starch and make it into sugars, which then that's fermentation. Yay! After fermentation, the last part is pasteurization, which pasteurization, all you do is, you can get pasteurized milk, all you do is it just kills the yeast. Some companies actually don't do that. They just let it sit in a cold refrigerator, and that slows down the yeast. And those are mostly the fancy beers that do that. The last part of the whole operation is packing. And while you pack, usually that's when the carbonation happens. That's when you carbonate or let it carbonate. Carbonation can, in bottles, at least when you carbonate in bottles, that's usually when you just let the yeast do its job. The other two things are kegs and cans, which are a big part of it. And so, yeah, so now I've just taught you about how beer is made, and why don't you guys go out and Have a cold one for me. See you later. Maybe we should speed this up. Yeah. Okay, we're done.